one other bill that didn't pass, it passed your House, but it didn't pass the Senate, was the Cupp-Patterson school funding overhaul. This is something that you'd been invested in quite a long time, and it was an important bill for you, clearly. How do you feel now that it's apparently dead for the session? Does it somehow get put into the budget next year? Well, what happens to Cupp-Patterson now?
Well, look how far we've come. We have a dysfunctional school funding system. There is no active formula that works anymore. No school district is on the formula. It's unpredictable. It's unfair in the way it distributes it. It is inadequate in many ways to the actual cost of education. So we started, I don't know, maybe it's about 3 years ago, putting something together, and it took a couple years to be able to work out something that got widespread support from school districts, from school funding experts, from legislators. We weren't able to get it in the last budget. There were a few details that still had to get worked out. Those were done. And so the bill has now passed the House. So it has passed a step in the process. Unfortunately, it did not get through the Senate. But again, in the new session, we'll be starting to work with that bill very early on, like to get it through the House, give the Senate plenty of time to deliberate about it. It may find its way into the budget, but the important thing is that it has all this long history of work and involvement and refinement, fine tuning to get it where it needs to be. And so that should now be behind us. And the question is, how do we go forward with it? So it may be become part of the budget. I would hope that would be sort of at least what it does, if it's not passed as a standalone bill. So it begins to distribute the school funding money that we have in a fairer way, a more transparent way, and it will be, again, to address the actual cost of educating our students so that every student in the state of Ohio has the opportunity for a quality education, and they're not held back because the district they live in is a poor district with low property values or low resident income. And the Ohio Constitution requires this. So it is a constitutional imperative to get this done.
Cupp-Patterson school funding overhaul passed the House overwhelmingly. I mean, the sponsors were Speaker Bob Cupp and John Patterson from your caucus. How do you feel that it's apparently dead, and there's been a lot of work that went into it that may or may not get attached to, say, the budget coming up next year?
I think it's really, really sad that the children of this state are going to continue through another school year of not being adequately funded or even being considered in a meaningful way. The DeRoff decision happened decades ago, and our kids have been waiting. And those of us who were in school during the DeRoff decision are still hoping that at some point this could happen. It's been many, many, many years of kids not having adequate school funding, which means their educations have suffered. And here was an opportunity, a prime opportunity, especially in a year when government needed a bit of a boost and some trust restored in our democracy. And it was really disappointing to see the Senate leaders decide to turn their back on the children of Ohio. It's especially discouraging too that we've seen that the Republican leadership be unable to convince people in their own party that things that are important to them should be important to the entire state. I really hope this Republican infighting will stop. It is creating a cloud over Ohio. It's creating a stagnation, and we need to move forward. We need to be more progressive. We need to have more activity. Our kids, our families all rely on it, and it's the only way that we'll see the Ohio promise in this state. And so I am disappointed, and not just for myself and for my colleagues who work very hard in those work groups and the study groups, but mostly for the children of this state who will continue to not be educated the way that they should be, fairly, the way the Constitution requires us, simply because it maybe wasn't someone else's idea, or whatever personality issues remain.